and I will change our background. Sorry, I will remember to do that. Hi, Erin. You need your on. So welcome back, everybody. I hope you've got a cup of tea. Oh, she's muted herself. Hang on. There you go. You're on. Right, I've got my cup of tea, so I hope you've got yours. So, for those that don't know, this is the lovely Erin Parkinson. She is a qualified teacher and a homeschool mum with 15 years experience with her 6 children. She loves history, reading, traveling, and theatre. She runs Parkinson Online classes, running a number of Zoom classes via Zoom, which she makes as interesting and interactive as possible. And they range from topics on history, literature, science, fallacies, geography, and more.
Yes.
You are a busy lady, Erin.
Thanks. For a second there, I thought you were going to say I had 15 children. No.
Oh, no.
Yeah, 15 years experience homeschooling, 6 kids, yeah. So,
So
a little bit different to Krystel, and if you were in the session before, a bit different to Nikki. I started out homeschooling, and then I sent my children to school for high school, with the exception of one who didn't start till, he went to high school, but he went at year 11. The others went at year 9, with the exception of the very youngest, who I sent off at year 6, because after 15 years of homeschooling at that point, I was a little drained, and I didn't want to fight about Minecraft all the time. So I really think homeschooling is amazing, but yeah, I have a different perspective on it. I homeschooled in the early years, but it does mean I have a really good school perspective when it comes to NCEA, and I really enjoy teaching homeschoolers online. That is my new love. Especially when I can focus on the subjects I really like and leave things like maths and higher science and physics and teaching essay writing to other people, parents or other tutors. I can do the ones that I like to teach, which is social studies and history and things like that. A bit of Shakespeare, a bit of biology. Yeah. Krystel.
A little bit of everything. So, well, I'm going to lead this talk tonight. So we are doing all things curriculum, but I just have a bit of a prerequisite, I suppose, is the word to use. I have plagiarized a whole lot from Erin's talk. Erin's talk is that she's the opposite to me. So I have made my own slides, but I have based them on a lot of work that Erin has done previously and added a lot of my own stuff to it. So I just want to give massive credit to Erin. So I'm going to be the main chatter tonight, but I'm going to hand it over to Erin. I know what we sell. I know what Engaging Minds sells and what I've used. And then Erin has a whole lot of experience in the areas I don't. So hence why we are both here tonight. So please, those that are watching, please put your questions through. We will star them and we will get to the questions when we can, as we are talking, or for the last 10-15 minutes or so. So I will add this to stage and we will get straight into it. So how do you go about choosing a curriculum when the options almost seem endless? And they really are, especially now. There is more and more curriculums popping up. You've got online and not just textbook as well. So how do you do it? We are blessed in this country that you don't need to actually follow a prescribed curriculum. We have the freedom to pick and choose what suits our lifestyle and what suits our children. We are blessed. And there are homeschoolers that have gone before us to fight to keep that freedom as well. There is never a gold standard of curriculum either. There is never going to be one curriculum that suits everybody. I get asked all the time, what should I pick for my year, blah, blah, or age, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, yeah, that depends. There are great curriculums and there are not so great curriculums, most definitely, but there's not one that is going to be perfect. But there is one that's going to be perfect for you and your family. So knowing your family's education philosophies is something that can really help. So I'm not going to go over these tonight, but of the different philosophies. Now, most homeschoolers will fall under eclectic. We pick a little bit of everything, or we will be leaning towards one or two and pick something from somewhere else. So for me, I am definitely eclectic. I know Erin was as well. I love a little bit of classical education for certain subjects. I love a bit of Charlotte Mason for others. We do a whole lot of child-led natural learning for other subjects. So we really are a mix. And I've gone off my notes. So if you see me reading, I'm just trying to catch up to my notes. What will work in one season won't work in another. No, we'll go back here. And they will morph and shift as well. How can you find what your family's philosophies are? Two great places to go are Inchens. If you haven't come across them before, I highly recommend you do. It is of information. Absolute wealth of information in there. Specifically, if you go under support, I believe, and home education approaches, there is actually a list that explains the different approaches from the previous slide. The other place that I absolutely love is Kathy Duffy Reviews. She has a specific learning styles questionnaire, so you can do that questionnaire and it will come up with your family's particular learning styles. So two places to go help. You don't have to be an expert in education to design your own curriculum and teach your children. Choose your destination, fill your tank, and take off. So there are a whole lot of box curriculums out there. There are set curriculums out there. You don't have to do any of that. You can do your own. You don't have to be a trained teacher. You just have to be a parent that loves your children to absolute bits and was willing to put in the hours to pull it all together. Don't be set on one particular curriculum over another. The other thing is that one of the questions that I get all the time is, I have to cover in one day. Oh, no, you most definitely do not. One of the massive freedoms of homeschooling is that we don't have to do that. We aren't school. We don't have to have an hour of each subject each and every day. Also, you don't have to do every subject every year. Oh, sorry, guys. Hang on. I keep knocking my camera. I have a shortcut key near the edge of my keyboard. So if I go blank, I'm sorry. You don't have to do curriculum every. So we've done a couple of years of English. And that was actually enough. We didn't want to take English further than that curriculum over those 2 years took us. It was enough. I'm going to try a different view. Oh, look, Erin, you're big. I might go back to the other one. So that was enough for us. And same with science. We haven't done science every year. We haven't done history every year. You could do a term of science, a term of English, a term of history. Do what suits you and suits your family. But my friend uses X curriculum and says it's brilliant. Who do I listen to when it comes to choosing curriculum? That is a question that comes up in Facebook groups a lot as well. So there is not one golden curriculum. There is not one golden answer, but things to consider when you are looking at different curriculums. Read reviews from parents that have actually used it, not parents that are raving about it because it's just arrived in the mail, but the parents that have used it for 2 or 3 years and they're still using it 2 or 3 years later because they love it and it works for their family, and they would get a real how it works for their family. Get samples, get trials online, borrow a curriculum to have a good look at where possible first before committing to a purchase. So a lot of the curriculums have free sample lessons online, or you can trial an online for 7 days or X amount of time. Do that to get a real feel of the curriculum first. Ask on homeschooling groups. There is a plethora of homeschooling groups on Facebook now. We are not short on people to ask on different opinions. Once again, Kathy Duffy Reviews, if you haven't heard of her, is a bit of a guru when it comes to curriculum. Yes, she is based in the US, but we won't hold that against her. She is absolutely amazing, and she has really unbiased reviews, so she's not paid to do any of the reviews. She gets her income through her website and her blog and the books that she sells. She's actually got Kathy Duffy's 101 curriculum top picks. But what I love about her is a detailed review that isn't from the publisher itself. So you get a fairly unbiased opinion on the actual review. We have YouTube now as well, and there are many, many, many homeschool mums putting out videos and YouTube reviews and flip throughs. So if you want to have a good look and a good flip through of a particular curriculum, use what is available to you. And think. One of the worst things that you can do is jump in and buy all the curriculum that is pretty and I want it. And yep, I have been there as a mum. I most definitely have. But please don't make the same mistakes I did. Just sit and think, even if you're sitting for a couple of months, be patient. Your kid isn't going to fail life because you haven't bought a curriculum for a month. They can catch up, or they don't need to catch up. They will just be where they're at. Grab it secondhand where possible, and if budgets are tight, we are homeschool families. We know what it's like to live on a single income. We get it. There's a fabulous secondhand market on Facebook. Think about if you are an online versus workbook family. So online works for some people. Workbook works for some people. So that if you prefer one over the other, or even one for some subjects over but not for others, that will then narrow down your choices then is available to pick from. Does it go right through to high school level? So I've put this in here because we are talking to parents with high school students tonight. A lot of the options for primary are massive compared to the options for high school. When you start to hit, I don't know, about year 10, year 11, the options do narrow down greatly. So is it going to take your child right through to their high school years? Is it going to be the correct curriculum for the pathway that you are looking to go down? Now, I'm not saying you have to be locked into anything, but it's just one of the things to consider. Does your curriculum have video lessons, or is it parent? For me, being a mum of a large family, I don't have the same time for the one-on-one lessons that some curriculums require. So I tend to go for the curriculums with the video lessons so my children can be independent from me. This could be online, this could be DVD, doesn't matter. So that's something to consider. Do you have the headspace? Do you have the time? Do you even want to sit down alongside your teenager and teach them something that is more independent? Which goes on to the following one. Can a teen be independent with their studies? So can your teenager be independent from you with the curriculum that you are choosing? All right. I'm going to have to make sure I have got my notes. Right. Don't fix what isn't broken. So if one of the biggest mistakes I find that parents do will be flitting from curriculum to curriculum. And what that means is you could potentially give your children holes in their learning, because not all curriculums teach same order. It's not a major, but it's just something that to consider. If a curriculum's working for your child, if it's working for you, your child is learning and they are learning at a good pace and they are learning what they need to, don't change to the latest and the greatest and the new and the shiny that everybody else is raving about. Stick with it. If it's working, keep doing it. But on the other side of the coin, don't flog a dead horse. So if a curriculum isn't working for you guys and your children are struggling, then don't be afraid to let it go. I know it's hard because it's cost X amount of money. I get it because I am the same. I've spent hundreds on curriculum I haven't used, and I'm like, we must use it, but my kids hate it. So just pass it on. Don't hold on to it with it collecting dust on your shelf. You can get money for it secondhand. So do it while it is relevant, essentially, while it is still relevant within the New Zealand homeschool market. Curriculum does age. Sometimes not very well, sometimes very well. It depends on the curriculum. But if you are not using it, be using it in the next, say, 3 to 4 years, pass it on to a family that is going to be using it. Because just because it doesn't work for you doesn't mean it won't work for anybody else. All right, Erin, feel free to jump in too. I'm just going to keep on keeping on.
No, I mean, I agree with everything you're saying, so carry on.
I'm seeing nodding, so cup of tea. All right, where can I get it from? So
this is a
I
big
know.
thing.
So it is a big thing, and it really is. So have obscene amounts of curriculum available to us to choose from, but is it available in New Zealand? So there are a couple of suppliers in New Zealand. I am one of them, being Engaging Minds. You have got CES Books, so Christian Education Services. They do all Christian curriculum. There is Pure Books have jumped in, and I will have a list later, I think. And there's a whole lot of suppliers that are coming into the homeschool market that supply schools as well. So is it available in New Zealand? Can we get it? Can you reliably get it from overseas? Now, I say this because everyone during COVID realized that the postal system crashed and things weren't available. And sometimes stuff from overseas can take weeks and weeks and weeks or get lost in the mail. So you can buy from overseas, and I encourage you to do so. But can you always get it? Generation curriculum. Thank you for that one. Yes, they do. And I haven't got that on my list. I haven't got everything on my list. There's just too much to have on one list. So will the curriculum get here in a timely manner if you're buying it from overseas? Can you afford to print it off and bind it if it is a PDF file? So this is one thing that has come across lots. There are available for free or very cheap, being PDFs, but people don't realize it's like 300 pages of curriculum, and that does cost to get printed off. Now, there's heaps of places you can print off online. We are blessed now with things called eco tankers that do make printing super cheap. But do you have an eco tanker? Do you have one available for your friends? So before you go and buy that amazing PDF curriculum that is cheap, think about the printing costs. Are you going to use it online and as a PDF, or are you more print-based and you want to print it off? Have a think about it. If you're looking at online things, do you have for the online access that it's going to require? Do you have reliable Wi-Fi for when you want it? I'm going to have to motor through this, so we're going to go over time. Okay, we're going to crack straight into actual curriculum. Now, prerequisite, this is just a brief overview of some of the more popular ones within New Zealand and within the homeschool market. I cannot possibly cover everything. And these are also the ones that I know personally well because I've either used them or sell them or just know them well through my experience as a homeschooler. So Matthew C. A lot of people know this one. It is video-based lessons via DVD or now digital. It's a systematic and cumulative approach, which is mastery-based. So what this means is each subject is covered in 1 year. So say Algebra 1, Algebra 2, it's 1 year per subject. So this can trip a lot of people up, and it doesn't often feed well into exams if you cut through halfway. So the thing with Matthew C is once you start, you kind of got to finish to get the full advantage of Matthew C. Like workbooks and test books are available from us. The Art of Problem Solving. This one is a relatively new one to the New Zealand market. Even Erin might not know this one, but it is one that we sell here at Engaging Minds. It is really, it's a high performing math curriculum. So it is actually written for the kids that do the math exams in America. So it's written for the really, really smart math kids that are doing all the maths exams, but its focus is on critical thinking and problem solving skills. It presents a really, really broad range of challenging math concepts that are not usually found in most math curriculum. So if you've got a really high academic, have a look at this one. It is well worth it. This starts at high school level, but if you've got a kid that you want to feed into this, there is Beast Academy, which is becoming more and more popular. Bridge the Gap Math is also a new one to the New Zealand market. Essentially what this is, and why I've put this in for people tonight, this one is going to be a game changer for people who are pulling their kids out of school, but they're not ready yet for high school math. So this is written by a tutor with 30 odd years experience. And what she realized when she was tutoring these kids is that there were the same questions. Kids were getting caught up on the same maths problems again and again and again that she had to work through with them. And she wanted to be able to reach more kids. So she put it all into a book. So this is aimed at lower high school kids, sort of year 9-ish or intermediate kids. It's a broad range of ages. Will teach you as the parent how to teach your child math. So 1 page per concept, and it is all the often missed bits. It's the things that will trip kids up the most. And once they get these things that are within the Bridge the Gap Math, if they get these bits, they will then be ready for the high school level math. Life of Fred. This one is just completely different to everything I've talked about. This is, if you know Life of Fred, you'll know that it is funny. It is little 5-year-old Fred and his mate Kenny, and Fred is a math genius, and it is the story of Fred and Kenny and their life together. And it is just written in a really readable way, and it presents math concepts in, I don't know, it's just great. For kids that don't like math, for a lot of math haters, I will basically point them towards Life of Fred, because if they but don't love doing loads of math and math problems, don't like your traditional math textbook, then this is a way for them to read through maths concepts and gain that understanding better. Saxon Math. I don't know a lot about this one myself, but it is very popular in the homeschool realm. It has been around for years. It presents concepts incrementally and introducing one new idea and then reviewing and adding it to continuously until mastery. It is a traditional style textbook and test approach. A lot of people find math dry and boring, but they also absolutely love it because it teaches math so darn well. I couldn't find many places it was available in New Zealand. It is a bit hit and miss getting Saxon in New Zealand, and it is quite pricey as well. All right, different math workbooks, and this is where I'm handing over to Erin.
Okay.
This one's way better than I do.
Is it going to matter if I just switch over to my slides or not, Krystel?
I don't know. Can you switch over easily? Well, I can talk about them too. So,
okay. So ESA publications, the Learn Well publication.
Oh, I see what you did. Nice.
Oh, look at that. So, these are available at Coles and Paper Plus, and the warehouse and everything. So, in terms of the easiest available books, these are probably one of them. However, they don't have a lot of teaching and they don't have a lot of practice in them. So this is a book that I would recommend you only use as a spine, and you may not have come across that word, but it's like a background book where maybe you've got it because you want to make sure that you're covering everything that they would be doing if they were at school, but you're going to supplement it with something else, because this might only have, 3-4 pages on fractions, and chances are your kid needs more than 3 or 4 pages worth of practice on fractions, like the entire topic of fractions. Chances are 99% high. So this is not something I would totally recommend, but it is quite good if you wanted something to check or to use temporarily while you figure out what else to use, because it's so easy to get and they're not particularly expensive. Okay, so that's ESA. New Lake Maths. This is a really thick workbook. Okay, I'm holding it up there. Yep, that's because it's a pretty comprehensive book. A lot of schools give it as a as the homework book. If you could look inside here, you'd see my that was Joel. Yeah, he's filled in about 30 pages of the 300 or so that they're in there. It's very comprehensive in terms of practice, and if you are doing NCEA, it does actually divide those practice questions into achieved merit and excellence questions after the initial sort of practice questions and getting used to what you're doing. It does have teaching, and one thing it has that I haven't found in any other curriculum, it teaches how to use a graphics calculator to solve the problems, because they're allowed to use calculators for NCEA maths, but using a more complicated calculator is a whole new learning curve. And this has the pictures. It literally has two of the two main brands and tells you exactly what buttons you need to press to be able to do those more complicated mathematical problems on a calculator. However, it's also teaching you how to do it. This is really good if you are moving into NCEA, but if you're doing year 9 and 10, you haven't decided if you're doing Cambridge or something, this is still going to set you up with some good learning, as is Saxon, as is Matthew C. Life of Fred might be a little bit different, but I do know someone who moved from Life of Fred and got quite high up and then did IGCSE. David Barton is another book that is commonly used as a textbook at schools. So again, it's NCEA, leading into NCEA New Zealand Maths. And there's a picture of the inside of it there. It's got a little bit of colour. It's not particularly super interesting, but it's set up for New Zealand curriculum. Life of Fred, we already talked about. A. Becker. It's missing some words at the top there, but it's an American-based, Christian-based curriculum. Really well-structured plain pages. Some people like coloured pages and little cartoons. Some people need black and white, lots of white space to be able to just not get cluttered with their maths learning. A. Becker tends to be a little bit advanced compared to, say, New Zealand or even other American curriculums. So just be careful in terms of placements, but it's got placement tests. High Expectations, that's available from CES Books. You've got to be careful when using an American curriculum because they really do teach their maths in a different format to New Zealand and not a lot of statistics. Saxon we've done. Online. This guy is brilliant. It's changed the graphics again. So Infinity plus 1, the E should be on the end there, on YouTube. He's a New Zealand teacher who was high school teacher, like senior high school, and then he's moved to year 9 and 10, but he teaches online maths, especially NCEA level. But again, his YouTube videos, maths videos online, maths teaching online is generally the same. You know, if you go look up somebody to teach you fractions, it doesn't matter if it's an American or a Cambridge or it's NCEA, they're all teaching fractions. It doesn't change around the world. Okay, but he does also, if you are doing NCEA, focus on actual NCEA exam stuff, especially at this time of year, like in the past month. So Infinity plus 1, he's very, very good. Khan Academy, American, excellent.
I haven't heard of him.
Teaching videos. So a lot of people will use a book, and then if they're struggling to explain a concept in one of the curriculums that they're using, any of the resources, they'll turn to Khan Academy for a video on how to actually do it. And their kid will watch it, they will watch it, they'll get it, and then they'll go back to using the book again. This is mathscentre.co.nz, which has got videos. The videos are so old. They're very thorough, they're very good. They've got like a really almost late 80s vibe to them, but they must have been made more recently than that. It's just, I don't know. Excellent if you want to print out games, worksheets, all sorts of math stuff. And then you've got online programs like Mathletics, which goes all the way up to year 13, and Maths Buddy. Both are New Zealand aligned. So that's me. That's all the ones that you wanted me to cover.
It is. And there's more than that as well. We can't cover...
So much.
Yeah, we really can't cover everything. There's a massive list also on Council of Home Educators in New Zealand. Once again, that is still not comprehensive.
I'm just going to ask this
Life of Fred doing?
Yeah, go on. Completing UE. If you're doing university entrance in terms of NCEA, I do know, like I said, I know one person who did Life of Fred all the way through high school. I know quite a lot of people who enjoyed it at primary and then switched. For them, they supplemented at high school with some other things, but they were more of a Englishy sort of history drama kids, but they passed maths using Life of Fred, and then when they did their qualification pathway, I think they chose IGCSE and then did level 2 NCA. They just switched over and it worked out okay for them. I would say Life of Fred is a bit risky to do if you were looking at getting excellences at level 3. It just doesn't align to an NCA curriculum when you get to that upper level. But if you're still talking year 9 and 10, especially if you're talking about a kid who needs something different for a year and they're in that younger stage, Life of Fred might really work because it really is very different. If you live in Auckland, you can get the books from the library. So wherever else you live, you could try. Give it a go. It will not be like a curriculum in maths that you have ever experienced before. And it's a love-hate relationship with many people. And I really mean love-hate relationship. Some really love it. Some cannot stand it. So try it out. Try a sample page online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know when I was reading it, we have, it actually made me laugh out loud as well. So they are really funny books. I've used it as a supplement as well for my kids. So when they just need a break from doing math or they haven't quite got concepts. So they haven't quite got, it was fractions and percentages. So we pulled the Life of Fred book, fractions and percentages off, and something just clicked because it had been presented in a. So I do know a lot of families that use it as a supplement, but not a full curriculum. There are a few, but just not those. And it does actually go right through to university level math as well, which not a lot of people realise. The books go very, very high. So probably what we didn't talk about, we've got Life Pack. We can come back to Life Pack because Life Pack is actually a full all-in-one curriculum as well, but there is Life Pack available, Christian curriculum. And LearnWell is coming into the New Zealand homeschool market as well, but it is aimed at schools. I don't know a lot about LearnWell.
LearnWell is the ESA publications that I talked about. It's that maths and stats learning book. Yeah. ESA publications is LearnWell.
My bad. See, look, I'm learning here tonight as well. So they rebranded them.
No, they just used two names, and they kind of between ESA Publications is the overall brand and LearnWell is kind of the name of some of the levels. It's a bit confusing.
Okay, I will fix that up. Thank you. Thank you, Erin. All right. I think Erin's covered my next slide, which is online stuff. There is so many cool online things. I would just make sure that teaching textbooks is another one that gets talked about a lot as well. I don't know about it personally, but it will come up a lot. It seems to be an online program that is quite solid. Mathletics, we mentioned.
Very, very solid.
Yeah. No, it is. It is a good one. So if you want that online, if you want them online, and your kid doesn't want to be doing traditional bookwork, then you've got options available, which I think is amazing. All right, straight on to English, and we are going to have to motor through because we've got a lot to cover, but maths was probably the chunkiest subject. So there are different aspects to English, and you do need to make sure your kid is covering them. So you've got listening and speaking. So this is something that I know wouldn't generally be covered on a basis, but it is important. You could get your kids into things like Toastmasters and things to practice on their speaking abilities. My kids never wanted to do anything out loud with us, but I have got my younger kids into drama, so they're practicing those kind of oral language skills. They're reading and writing and visual language as well. So English covers a wide variety of skills. Spelling, and is it still a thing in high school? Well, if your kid can't spell and people can't understand their written work, then yes, it is a problem. We do still need to communicate via the written word. It is important. Kids need to be able to structure sentences. They need basic grammar. This kind of thing will be covered in the aim to have by 11 talk, I imagine. So I won't talk too much about this, but there are spelling curriculums available. Sound foundations, I don't know a lot about, but that was on Erin's list, so I chucked it in there, but it did look really sequential spelling. This is one that we, sequential spelling and all about spelling I sell here at Engaging Minds. Sequential spelling is basically just a list of words, but what is special about it is the words are all ordered in word families. It doesn't teach any spelling rules or anything like that, but it is designed to order the words in such a way that your kids have that aha moment and they understand that words are based in word families. All About Spelling is completely different. It is hands-on, it has coloured tiles, it is engaging with loads of repetition. It is great for those that need to know every single spelling rule that ever exists. It is so comprehensive and so full on. It's recently been redone in full colour as well. You can use it with older children, so it is aimed at the primary level children, but you can use it with older ones, and there's so much information on the All About Learning blog to how to adapt this to older children. Great for kids with learning disabilities, essentially, both sequential spelling and All About Spelling, but both completely different approaches. So, side note, as a parent, I have actually never done spelling with my kids ever. We've never done a spelling program, but my kids can all spell. They are very well read. We listen to audiobooks all the time. So don't feel that you have to do a spelling curriculum with your children, but it is important that they can spell well and have an understanding, and there's curriculums available to help. English. So I believe one of the most popular ones is IEW. People tend to have a love-hate relationship with IEW as well. Personally, I love Andrew. I find him really funny. Pros of this curriculum are your video lessons via DVD or streaming. It teaches structure and style incrementally. So you're not just said, hey, here, write this. You're actually, hey, this is a wonderful piece of writing. This is why, and this is how we're going to reproduce that writing. So it teaches you to structure your writing, and it teaches you to add a style to your writing, piece by piece, lesson by lesson. It's fantastic research skills and essay writing. There is a course for teachers and parents available. As well, which is in the top right, that is top left, sorry, that is teaching writing structure and style. That is actually the course to teach you, to teach the parent. You do not have to do this, and this is the beauty of it. The SS program that is showing has video lessons and is everything that you need to teach your children. Great. English. What I do love also about the IEW is it's generally a 2-year course. You do not have to do English for years and years and years and years and years to be good at it. So the green is aimed at intermediate, lower high school age group. The blue is aimed at lower high school, middle high school age group. There's also purple, which is your top upper high school. So no matter where your child is, there is a 2-year course available that is written for them. Each course, green, blue, or purple, which is A, B, and C, teach the same skill set, just aimed at a different age group. So you have which goes alongside IEW as well. Great as a self-paced course. My kids do fix the grammar all by themselves, and I don't have anything to do with it, and they're learning grammar that I have absolutely no clue on. We will come back to questions after. Okay, so writing and rhetoric. This is another popular one. Is a classical, more a classical approach to writing. IEW is as well, to be honest. But it is a step-by-step apprenticeship in the art of writing and rhetoric. It employs fluent reading and careful listening. It has models for imitation, and it has progressive steps throughout. This goes right through different skills for writing. It is a very popular curriculum. It is quite parent, I'd say, on the parent-heavy side. You do need to be sitting beside your child and actively engaged in what they're learning. It has narration and dictation exercises, which it needs a parent to do. The student can't do those kind of by themselves, but a lot of it would be self-explanatory for a older teenager. Thank you, Erin, for us answering questions in the chat too. Appreciate it.
That's okay. I would just add both. I would say IEW and writing and rhetoric. If you work your way through them, writing and rhetoric. Once you're getting to book 5, 6, 7. they're both setting you up well to write a good essay. And writing a good essay is absolutely important at high school level. If you are going to be sitting exams, you need to know how to write a good essay. So, yeah.
Yep. All right, Life of Fred Language Arts. I have chucked this one in there. It's typical Life of Fred fashion, like we were talking about earlier, but it is for language. It covers all aspects of the English language discussed, mixed in with many other English or in many other subjects in true Life of Fred style. It is great for readers with a sense of humour who want something a little bit English curriculum. I would use it probably more as a supplementary curriculum than a standalone. But it is just one of those things. If kids are really struggling with their English curriculum and you still want them to be doing something, this is a really cool something to put in. Well-ordered language. This is one we sell as well. This is another one from Classical Academic Press. This is more for your grammar side of English. It is clear and it is ordered. It has oral analysis. It is has classical diagramming, teaching the parts and the function of the sentence. Samples are taken from classical children's literature and poetry, and it has attractive illustrations throughout. I will admit I haven't used this one. I don't know it great, even though we sell it, but we got it in because we were asked to get it in, and it is reasonably popular. I haven't done a lot of specific grammar work with my kids, but if you need to do that, an option. Okay, another grammar book is Analytical Grammar, and this is brought in by Demi Learning. Not written by them, but published by them. They now have the rights to publish it. It is easy to follow lessons. It's got 5 books that teach grammar in a logical order. So you basically start at book 1 and work your way through the 5 books. Each book is about 11 lessons. So it is just grammar for a little bit. It's not a year-long course or anything like that. There are detailed notes for students and parents. You've got your hands-on activities such as diagramming, and there's plenty of practice built in. So you could do this, you could do this, you could add grammar for a term and then not do it for the rest of the year, work your way through, or you could do a real intensive course if that is what your child needs and they need that extra grammar work. Brave Writer. This is not one I know massively about, but it is a very popular one in homeschool circles. I haven't used it personally, but I know a lot of people that have used it successfully. So it is online PDF downloadables for printing. I listen to a lot of her podcast. I can't remember that. Julie Bogart.
Julie Bogart.
Correct me if I'm wrong. There we go. Bogart is the author, and her podcast is absolutely amazing, guys. It teaches parents how to be partners with their children, so the child learns still sophisticated verbal language, even though that their spelling and punctuation skills might be lagging behind. So it's a lot of read out louds and inputting that beautiful language into your child. You will learn critical thinking and essay writing. There are monthly handbooks that pair with fabulous novels, and there's bundles available for intermediate, lower, and upper high school. Anything you want to add to that one, Erin?
I would say if you are choosing a curriculum like IEW or writing and rhetoric, but you're doing either Cambridge or NCEA, or you just simply want your children to have a bit more of a foundation when it comes to reading good literature and being able to write about it and being able to analyze it, knowing how to look for language features and the writer's purpose, and being able to talk about your personal response. Well, these are all things that you need to be able to do for secondary pathways. Then Brave Writer is really good. You can do the whole year course, or you can choose individual books. So, if you're talking 9-year-olds, if you're talking 12-year-olds, if you're talking 15, 16 and looking at studying To Kill a Mockingbird, or, she does very well with including classic books and modern literature, not just all the classics that are now 20, 40, 50 years old. She does brand new books that are really good for studying and critical analysis at that upper high school level and middle high school and intermediate level. So, yeah, for literature, for reading, excellent. I have heard good things about her writing, but I can't talk about it so much in terms of teaching essay writing and things. But for literature, highly recommend. She's doing the same things that they would be doing if they were at high school, looking for those language features, looking for the author's purpose, talking about it, analysing it.
So just a different style writing than IEW, and that would teach, really, isn't it? It is quite different.
Yeah, or the writing one, like I said, I can't. The books ones, you can just do the book thing, and it's
okay.
It's quite different to then doing the entire writing bundle and learning how to write essays. So, different. You can take bits out of it, which I think is really good. And you can just choose one book. You don't have to choose an entire curriculum. So you could just pay $12 or whatever for the PDF to study the Life of Bees, which is a 16, 17-year-olds, literature novel.
Okay. Cool.
I think
I'm learning.
Life of Bees, something like that.
Yeah, I've come across her a lot. I just haven't looked at what she offers, to be perfectly honest, because it hasn't been needed in my house. So,
like Krystel said, I highly recommend her as, if you are new to homeschooling or you're a bit stuck in the rut, as a podcaster or reading some of her books that she's written to parents, very, very good. Julie Bogart, excellent. Okay, Krystel?
Yep. So I will plug Andrew Pudawa. I'll plug Andrew Pudawa as well from IEW, because he's got an amazing podcast as well. So different styles for different people as well. Okay. We are going to crack on. Okay, cover story. I don't know this one either. But it looked, I had a quick look online. It actually looked really cool, and it made me go, ooh, I wonder. But essentially, students are led through a process of creating content for a magazine, and also required to keep a daily journal. There's no prep involved for parents. There's loads of self-motivating materials, online video lessons, and it is aimed at lower high school. I did see they had a high school one, which was called The 1 Year Novel, available as well. Do you know much more about that, Erin?
Yes, we did cover story as part of a homeschool group, and I would recommend that is the best way to do it. It is quite intensive, but at the same time, It's English. I mean, if you're not doing several hours of English in a week, then you're probably not going to get through a lot. So it's kind of like a 1 year thing that I would recommend at about 11, 12, maybe even 13, before you get into more, go back to a normal sort of curriculum with all your different types. But it's quite fun as a homeschool group thing to do together, and they end up at the end of it, they've created this amazing magazine, hopefully, with this daily journal. It's very, as you can see from there, steampunk themed, so it's quite fun. That's all I can say about that, really.
That sounds cool. I might have to have a look at that for my kids. We need a bit of a switch up. Okay, so we are going to crack on into science. So science covers so much of different aspects of our world. However, there aren't huge amounts of science curriculum available at high school level. Well, not that I know of. And a lot of them are Christian, as you are about to find out. So Apologia, this is a very popular one. It's been popular for years in the homeschool the Christian science curriculum. It is very in-depth and comprehensive. The textbooks are quite conversational style, and then they have the notebooks alongside them for your students to fill out. And it's not just fill out the page. There's cool activities, and you can draw, you can do photocopies, you can do research, you can do poetry, it's very open to what your child enjoys, to in what way they want to put down their science information. For the years that we're looking at, you'd be looking at general science and physical science. So general science is your year 9 and physical science is your year 10. And then there are, it branches off into biology, chemistry, and other subjects and gets very narrow and very specific. That is available from us. Hang on, got to get the right button to move on to the next slide. Oh, sorry, folks. Okay. Berrien Builders. This is one, I pulled this up after Apologia because those that know the history will know the history between these two companies. But it's another Christian Science curriculum, and it teaches using historical, chronological base. The lessons all start with hands-on activities. It is written by the Wiley. He is the original author of Apologia. Apologia have since been updating their books, so he is no longer the author. So he has written his own science curriculum. I haven't used it and I don't know a lot about it, but I know that it sounds pretty good from what I have heard. Science workbooks. Novia Science, this is a new one that we've brought in here at Engaging Minds. It is a classical approach to science. It has a kingdom perspective, another Christian one. It's not overtly Christian, however, like your Apologia is. So they are a Christian company, but it's not, if I say in your face with scripture, there's no offense intended at all, but this does still come from your kingdom perspective. It has wonder and integration and mastery built throughout. So it's not just talking about one subject at once. It keeps bringing in and into it. It interweaves the subject all together. So you look at the subject as a whole rather than just as individual topics. There are textbooks available with student companion books, and there are a whole lot of digital support resources available. So if you tend to lean towards classical approach to your homeschooling, this could be a science one for you to see if it will fit your family. Goes right through to high school as well. Science Online, these ones are where I need a little bit of help from Erin because I don't know a lot of the online world. Sorry?
Oh. Amoeba Sisters. I mean, if you want a fun video that explains high school biology, this is your go-to. This is my go-to when I teach biology. ASAP Science, also very good. And the Science Learning Hub for New Zealand, videos and explanations, all of that, excellent. Just an addition in there for curriculum resources, Secular Science for Homeschoolers.com will give you a big list of science curriculums, mostly American-based, but Secular Science for Homeschoolers.com if you want non-Christian science workbooks. But then, of course, you've also got the kind of books that New Zealand schools use, and you've got the Cambridge workbooks. They will be from a secular, science without any Christian input at all. YouTube channels, Crash Course Science, Mark Rober. I mean, if you've got boys, you probably have heard of Mark Rober anyway. Mythbusters, getting a bit old now, but still great. Horrible Science, Slow Mo Guys, they're all really good, and there's a lot of online stuff. Natalie Thomas is a homeschool educator that's been around for, she's been homeschooling for a long time and then teaching online, and she does courses. She's also offering some Cambridge courses, and I do biology, year 9 and 10. I am doing a year 10 physics class this term, but I will not be repeating it. It is not my subject. So I focus on biology. And thankfully, we now have Natalie Thomas who is offering chemistry and physics, which is great. So there's some online options.
Yeah, there is so much, guys. I will admit that I did pull this presentation together pretty quickly. I should have added... I could have made this twice as long, to be honest, but I had to cut stuff out somewhere along the line. So I apologize. Know of some secular science curriculum because Chris and I are happy to bring some secular stuff in. I just haven't found a lot that we have fallen in love with. See, I haven't come across that.
So SciCAD is available in New Zealand. This is what a lot of schools use. This does not do the teaching. So you would want to use this as a workbook and then find videos online that teach the topic, which is how I tend to teach. But yeah, SciPads are basically the homework book, well, the homework and classwork book that a lot of New Zealand schools use. This will set you up well for year 9 and 10 to move into NCEA or Cambridge in the different branches of science. So it's one option I can tell you about. Don't have any other. Don't have any others on my shelf.
If it doesn't do the teaching, that would drive me crazy. I need something that can do the teaching for me, essentially. We've had someone say that it's too fast, and I know we are speeding through this, but it's one of those things that if we don't, we will be here for 3 hours. It is just one of those things. There's so many options. There's a list. Once again, I'll go back to INCHENZ, National Council of Home Education in New Zealand. But not a comprehensive
something
list
I can
either.
recommend.
Right.
If you are finding this too fast, all of this is being recorded and will be available. Yep. So you can then go through, pause on something, write it down, skip forward the bits you don't need, and watch it again. Yeah.
All right. So all-in-one learning. Now, I haven't done blurbs on these because I don't know them very well myself, but I thought I would give you a list. So you also have loads of publishers available that do all-in-one learning. You got Beaker, Masterbooks, Life Pack, Sunlight are all, and ACE are all Christian. Oak Meadow, I believe, is Christian as well. Don't quote me on that one. There you go. Bookshark is the secular version of Sunlight. But what a lot of these, they're not all of them are producing their own curriculum. I know Sunlight and Bookshark pull, what they essentially do is they pull curriculums from other publishers together and create an all-in-one curriculum for you.
Sorry, Oak Meadow is secular.
Ah, there you go. Okay,
very American-based though. Any of these, if
Easy Peasy All-in-One Homeschool was online. Yes.
Yeah. I was just going to say, if you're thinking, if you're looking at year 10, 11 and moving into a secondary pathway in New Zealand, you need to be thinking about that before using all-in-one learning at that level, simply because you need to be looking at your curriculum, like Krystel said at the very beginning, and where you're going with it. Whereas if you're intermediate, these could be really, really great options.
Yep. Thank you. And yeah, KN Academy. So that is one that comes up a lot as well. So online learning, and yep, we're almost at the end of the slideshow. I can't remember how long it was. I'm sorry, guys. There is so much online learning that you guys can do. It's just whether if you want to, I guess, piece together a curriculum for your kids. I know that would drive me absolutely insane into levels of anxiety that I don't want to feel if I felt I had to piece together my kids' education. But some parents can do that, and you can, and it's a lot of fun. We Crash Course, if you haven't come across Crash Course, if you think Erin and I are flying things through fast tonight, have a look at Crash Course, because it really is a crash course. But they do every topic imaginable, and it's quite fun. I've gotten a lot out of it if we know the topic already, but if it's a completely new topic to us, I find it way too fast. TED Talks, we've used those previously. Most people know about TED. There's some incredible subjects. Study Time Coda NZ. I don't know a lot about that one. That was one on your list, Erin.
Yep.
But it did look really cool. I had a look at that. Documentaries. We do science via documentaries a lot of the time. We love a good documentary in our family. So don't be afraid to use those. That is all learning. That is still massive amounts of learning if you're sitting together down as a family and watching a documentary, especially if you're going to discuss it the next day at the dinner table or as you're watching it. Audiobooks from Audible or the library or many other places that you can get audiobooks. Still all learning. Pinterest for ideas and resources. There's time on Pinterest like I do. But it is fantastic. Yep.
I was just going to say, I've just added into the chat here, BBC Bite Size. is really, really comprehensive and excellent in terms of online teaching and some practice work. The videos, however, will not work unless you have a VPN that works for England. And I don't understand what I just said, but I know that it's true. So VPNs, and you have to patch into the UK somehow, but the rest of the website works, and it sets you up. It's the UK's curriculum. It's what they all use during lockdown. So It sets you up really well in terms of IGCSE and Cambridge, but it's also really good for everything else. So if you want to find a particular topic, I love using it. I loved using it for my kids at primary level, but it's intermediate, high school as well. And if you can get someone computery to switch that VPN thing over, you get the use of the videos. Sometimes they're on YouTube, but otherwise having the videos and the games available is also really, really good. So yeah.
Thank you.
Carissa
has why Erin's here with me tonight, because she knows a whole lot of stuff I don't.
Carissa has added in the chats, if you're using an American curriculum, the best pathway is GED. Absolutely. The GED pathway, SATs and GED, is an American setup. So we can do it in New Zealand and we can get into university with it. And it, of course, suits Americans because it's an American pathway. So using an American curriculum then leads into that. Whereas I would recommend, and we'll talk about this in the secondary pathways talk, but if you're wanting to do NCEA, which is New Zealand, or Cambridge, which is UK-based but available in New Zealand, then you should switch over at high school level or year 10 or year 11 into doing something that is specific for that. And making sure that whatever curriculum you're doing at year 9 and 10 leads into that, which, to be fair, most will. You know, doesn't matter what you choose for maths, they're all covering maths. It's, you know, maths doesn't change for each country. There might be a few tiny little gaps here and there where, you know, Americans don't do much statistics, or Cambridge expects you to do it this way and things like that, that you might want to be aware of. But it's still maths, same as it's still essays. So, yes, you might want to make sure that you're switching at year 10, but certainly year 7 to year 9, anything that's prepping them for that, in my opinion, is good. Different people have different opinions, though. Someone said, what is the GED pathway? Come to the secondary pathways and you'll find out about that one.
Yep. And I've popped up Shirley. So, well, Lime Feather Learning is GED. So if anyone wants to know early about the GED, have a look at Lime Feather Learning, which I've popped up on screen. But like Erin said, come to the Pathways talk, because Shirley is one of the presenters and you'll get to hear it directly from her. So I recommend coming.
This is a really good question for the secondary Pathways talk, or for the final general, what do we call it? Talk, where we're all giving opinions. Can you switch from NCEA to Cambridge? You won't have started NCEA if you're doing year 10, or even if you have. Yes, I think you can. And the good thing is you'll get 2 different opinions on that one if you come to the secondary pathways. So you'll get to hear both and see what you think about that. So there we go.
Yep.
Would it be too late to switch?
We're almost out of I know we're going to go a little bit over time, but
okay. I'll back to you, Krystel.
No, that's all right. I'll just let's finish, because we might answer some of these questions. No, it's never too late. Well, okay, it can be too late to switch to Cambridge if you're switching at sort of 15, 16. But we will answer that in the more in depth. Nikki will answer it more in depth in the qualifications pathway talk, which is Friday 7, I believe. Don't quote me on that one. I'll take that banner off. Okay, so where to from here? What path is your child likely to take? Come to our Pathways talk and we can tell you all about the options available to you. So you do need to start to be thinking about, when your kid is in that intermediate age, you need to be going, okay, where to from here? What are my options? This is your research stage. So what are my options available to me, and what one may we take further down the track? You are not locking yourself into any one pathway at all. But it is good to know what is available in New Zealand. I don't recommend people who have got a 5 and 6-year-old for high school pathways, because they're not going to get there for another 8 to 10 years, and it is likely to have changed within that time. So the time to look is when your kid is at intermediate and lower high school, because then it is relevant for them. Where does your child want to get to? Do they need a qualification? So many careers now don't need a qualification, but they do need to have the foundational education to do what they want to do. So one of the things that my son did to be a building apprentice, to get a building apprenticeship, he actually spent a couple of years with Men's Shed. That's how he fell in love with building in the first place. But he had that couple of years under his belt. He was lucky enough to get under somebody and kind of mentor him. And that was one of the things that helped him get his building apprenticeship. So whatever your child wants to do, you need to be looking at tailoring their education now. And how are you going to tailor that education for them? How are you going to wrap that support around them and yourself to get your child to where they want to go? What lights your child up? What are they passionate about? It does not have to be necessarily academic. To be starting to broaden your child's horizons, which I know Erin's going to talk all about. And you need to be giving them loads of opportunities to find what lights them up, to find what they are passionate about. Probably cover all curriculum options. There is just far too many, but how you guys can do more research is in Chen's and Kathy Duffy reviews and talking on the Facebook groups and everything like that. So we have a few questions to answer, and we will answer them. So if any other questions that haven't already been asked, please do so. I know I have got a couple starred. I'll see what ones we have answered. Okay, this one here's a goodie. This was from earlier in the evening. Are there any curriculums in particular that are catered to dyslexic children, or perhaps known to suit them better? There most definitely are. So I can put my hat on here. So I know for a fact that Matthew C suits a lot of dyslexic children, and that is because it is hands-on. So the big thing about the Matthew C curriculum is that it is building blocks. You can make the math problem in front of you, and a lot of kids enjoy that process. And the books are also very black and white. They have lots of white space, not cluttered or confusing, and that can also help. Spelling and reading for dyslexic children, the top seller and the top one recommended is always All About Learning. That is for younger children. However, it was aimed at younger children. You can use it for older children. Sequential spelling is another one, and also IEW and I never put Write Shop in. We have Write Shop as another writing curriculum as well. That is because of the way that they present the questions. So it helps kids, because it's very, very clear what is expected of the child within that lesson. So that then helps the kid. It's not this open-ended writing question with IEW and with, I believe, Write Shop as well. Don't quote me on that one, even though I sell it. But that has helped a lot. Anything that you want to add, Erin? Volume, Erin. You're muted.
Apologies, I've got noisy teenagers outside working on a car.
We're both trying to do it.
Best thing for dyslexia, which I put in the comments, is the Facebook page Dyslexia Support NZ for homeschoolers. Linda Kimpton is the person you want. If it's about dyslexia, I hands down recommend her as the go-to person in New Zealand. So there we go.
Yep, I'll add another one to that one is the DEB group. So that is, I will put that in the comments as well. So there's another, so that is dyslexia evidence-based.
Yes.
I will chuck that in the comments now. That is another one as well. So absolutely. There are definitely experts within New Zealand that can help with those things. So another one. How old should the child be to start IEW? So you can start them from any age, from about age 10. If you want help putting your child in the right level, it's level A, level B, level C. I know it can be confusing for people. It was for me when I first came across IEW, but that's where I come in. Give us an email, give us a ring. I can help basically dissect and explain it. Would you need any other language arts curriculum alongside? It does encourage you to do a lot of reading. It doesn't have reading programs, so yes, you do need to supplement it. There is the Fix It Grammar for the grammar portion of it, or you could use another grammar program. And obviously, you want your kids to do a lot of reading.
Yep, I can provide a reading list if people want it, but also just there's so many great reading lists around the place. Yeah, especially, but if you're talking high school and intermediate, well, if you're talking primary and intermediate, that's my go-to love of children's literature. Once we get to high school, there's some really good lists and really, meaty books that they need to be, should be reading, able to read or listen to. Audio books is reading, in my opinion, and many people's opinion.
No, it is.
It's not. Yes. But audio books is such a good way, especially if you've got, kids who don't want to read. You know what? It's a great thing to put in the car. Everyone listens to it and nobody can leave. Turn off devices, listen to audiobooks, put it on at nighttime when they're falling asleep, but then you miss chapters because you fell asleep. The car is brilliant. And if you get Lord of the Rings on audiobook, you can drive up and down New Zealand or completely around Australia because it's 81 hours long. And the language, you don't skim read it when you're listening to an audiobook. You hear all that amazing language. It's amazing. But it is 81 hours long. So that's a lot of driving. So there we go.
That is a lot of driving. Okay, so guys, I do have Erin's reading list, and I will attempt to, at some point, hopefully over the summer, in the next couple of months, we'll actually get it up on our Facebook page our website as a blog, so it will be up for everybody to use, because Erin doesn't have that capability, but we do on our website. So this is what we are doing. We are working together to bring you guys the information and have it there available to you.
Bearing in mind that whatever's on my reading list, I love. But then every time I look at it, I want to add more, and I can't because it's it just keeps growing exponentially. So there are so many more great books that aren't on there, but it is still a great reading list too.